I'm back on British soil. I mean, you can say anything you like about this country, but I mean, come on, is this not beautiful?
Everything's fine. Wouldn't expect any more from this. The situation's in line with every story that I heard of the burning bliss, and I wait, trying to appreciate.
I left England in 2008 for a variety of reasons. Part of the reason was that I wanted to explore the world. I wanted to see different cultures and see how different people lived and kind of just get a different, an alternative world of view. But part of it was also out of frustration. I just had the feeling that things were not working, both on a societal level and also on a personal, individual level. Things were not really working for me. And I was just kind of lost. And this was my way of, trying to find myself. Now, 16 years later, I'm always very fascinated when I come back to see how the country has changed and also to see how my own perceptions of the country, my own feelings towards it have changed. There's something very special about the landscape of England, and I can't really describe it in words. It's more of just a feeling that I have towards the country. And earlier this year I went round Ireland. I took a round trip around Ireland, went to many different places, to Connemara National Park, the Ring of Kerry, Galway, Dublin, Cork. Most of the south, also went to Belfast, and I was really very impressed with Ireland. The infrastructure, the roads, the houses, the towns, they were all in very good condition. They looked very well cared for. It looked like there was a lot of investment. The roads were in very good condition. And all sort of the manicured lawns, the hedges, it just looked like people were taking care of the country. It looked like there was sort of a certain sense of pride, a certain sense of investment, and that things were sort of looking up, and objectively, things looked a lot better in Ireland than they do in the UK. But still, I did not get this emotional connection to the countryside of Ireland, even though it's incredibly beautiful. I did not get the same feeling there as I do when I come back here to England. Now, I know it's probably kind of normal for us to romanticize our childhood. We kind of tend to remember the good things rather than the bad things, and we kind of just romanticize how things used to be then, and I think that's part of it. I don't know if I'm alone in this, maybe you feel the same way, but there's kind of some very illogical romantic ideas that I have about the place, even though in actual reality I have to admit that the country has changed, and not necessarily for the better.
Outside, a little bit high on the feeling, can't seem to focus.
The towns and cities, especially in the north of England, just look very tired. They look very run down. It just looks like there's a lot of investment lacking. And I remember I made a video about 2 years ago on a similar topic, and that was during the King's coronation, and it was a very different feeling. The zeitgeist was completely different. There were Union Jacks everywhere. There was a sense of hope and a sense of sort of festivities, and it just seemed much more upbeat than it does right now on this trip here. The atmosphere seems quite subdued and reserved, and the conversations that I have had with people who live here, pretty unanimous in the fact that things are going downhill here and they're not really improving in any particular way. Now, I grew up in the Midlands. I went to visit Worcester and Hereford this time round, and there was a very weird kind of dark atmosphere when visiting these places. There were groups of alcoholics loitering on the streets, kind of just unsavory characters hanging around. A lot of the shops were closed. This was on a Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock, so at least in my opinion there was no reason for them to be closed. And so I just got this feeling that, it was just sort of, a little bit depressing, to be honest. But on the other hand, if I'm honest, I have to be honest here, and I did go back to Hereford on a Saturday morning, and it was a completely different experience. There was a farmer's market, the sun was shining, people were out and about. There was sort of a very focused energy on local and regional produce. There was a focus on the harvest, on apples and pumpkins and all that kind of stuff, and it was a very different atmosphere, and it just showed me the fickle fallacy of your own personal experience, because it really does depend on a lot of things. The weather makes a huge difference, the people you're with, who you go with, and how you're feeling yourself at the same time. So there definitely is a lot of nice initiatives going on, and it's not all completely cynical. Like, I think a lot of people are really trying to do their best, make the best out of a bad situation. But yeah, it's just the fact that there does seem to be less investment, especially in the middle and the north of England. There seem to be less opportunities than there were 20 years ago, at least when I was growing up here. And it's just sad. It's sad to see this. So as you may or may not know, I live in Germany. I've lived in Germany for a very long time, and I just think there's really no comparison between the two countries, even between Ireland and England, like when it comes to the quality of life, the cost of living, opportunities, the job market, all that kind of stuff. The UK is really lagging behind, and it's shocking to realize that like the average salary in the UK is 35 to 38,000 euros, not even pounds. When you get outside of London, if you exclude London from this, it actually drops to below 30,000 euros a year, which is nothing. It's like peanuts. And you know, there's a reason why people seem to be struggling here. And you know, in terms of infrastructure, the roads are kind of like how they always were in England. You know, lots of potholes, not particularly well kept, and I do know that the infrastructure in Germany is also very old, and there are bridges falling down and roads that need to be repaired. But even with all of that, I mean, the situation in Germany is just a lot better than it is here in England and in the UK in general.
Nothing ever felt as good.
So it does feel like the UK is a very poor country attached to a very rich city. But even with all of these realities, I do still think there is plenty of reasons for hope. There's a very thought-provoking essay by Ed West, which I will leave in the description below. He is giving his commentary on another essay titled Foundations, where they basically lay out all the reasons why the UK is getting poorer and poorer, and list a lot of things that you could do to actually change that very quickly. And so just like the rising sun in front of me, there are always reasons for hope. And regardless of the economic or political or social situation, I just think that the countryside, the English countryside, is unbeatable. There's just something magical about it. And I think it will always have a special place in my heart. I will always come back here with a sense of belonging and a sense of pride. And I think that's beautiful.